Hi everyone, Fox is here and welcome to my January-February book haul. I have been pretty good when it comes to buying books this year so far, and in January I actually purchased only 3 books, which is amazing and never happens. But in February I needed a bit of pick-me-up shopping, so I purchased a couple of books on Book Outlet. However, I'm sticking either to secondhand books or only to the new releases that I'm really excited about. So without further ado, let's get started. Like I said, in January I bought only 3 books, and the first one that I bought is Truthwitch by Susan Dennard. I should have finished reading this book like a month ago, or maybe months ago, because I was so super excited about it, but unfortunately I'm still reading it. It's a whole different story. I don't want to get into that right now, but this book is amazing. I absolutely love it. It is book number 2 in her series about witches. It is fantasy, YA, very well written. I have maybe like 60 pages left and I cannot wait to finish it. It's really good. Hopefully I will be able to review it really soon. Next, I got History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. This is another new release of 2017, and I also featured this book in my most anticipated releases of 2017 video. This is a contemporary standalone novel, but there might be some sci-fi twist to it. I have not read this book yet. However, I read More Happy Than Not last year and it absolutely killed me. So I expect to experience a lot of feels. Next, I have Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth, and this is a sci-fi YA novel. I'm not sure if it's number 1 in a trilogy or if it's a standalone, but I liked the Divergent series, especially Allegiant, so I'm looking forward to reading it. And that's all I've got in January. Surprising, I know, but let's get on with February. First, I've got the most anticipated release, and that is King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard. This is book number 3 in her series. I enjoyed books number 1 and 2. Cannot say I loved them, but I did enjoy them, and every single book in the series, like the following book in the series, keeps getting better, so I'm hoping this one will be better than Glass Sword and Red Queen. Obviously, it's definitely much thicker. Cannot wait to read it. It came out on, I believe, 6th of February. I had it pre-ordered and I need to get to it, but it's not that high on my priority list because I have other books on hand. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how Victoria Aveyard unravels this whole mess that she put her characters into. Yeah. Then I got a book, which is actually not for me, but I'm still going to feature it in my haul because I do plan to read it and review it. And this is Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. I've been meaning to read this book for ages. I got it requested from the library, but it has like 200 people requesting it, so I got it on overdrive, but I read only half of it. It was extremely powerful and really mind-blowing, and it impressed me so much that I couldn't really finish it in one go. It was just so emotionally powerful, so I had to set it aside, and unfortunately it expired, and I wasn't being able to get it from overdrive again. Plus I obviously prefer to have a physical copy in my hands, so this is actually a copy for my friend, so this will be a birthday present for her, but I want to read this book as well, so I'm going to haul it here. I'm cheating, I know. But this is an amazing collection of poetry and prose poetry, and there are also illustrations. This is a Canadian author, which makes it even more precious, and this is all about, you know, women's perspective to abuse, and there are mentions of rape, I believe, also heartbreak, love stories. It's very raw and emotional, but it's wonderfully written. Like I said, I read only half of it, but I really enjoyed it, so hopefully I'll have time to read it again, like from the very beginning till the very end, because it's definitely worth it. Next, I have 3 plays, and all of these are courtesy of Playwrights Canada Press. I got them for review from the publisher. They're all by Canadian authors. This one is Watching Glory Die by Judith Thompson. Then Waiting Room by Diana Flex. And this is actually a collection of short, really short, sometimes like 1 page long plays by different authors. Yeah, it's called The Anthology of Mostly 10-Minute Plays, and I'm really excited to read all of this. I'm so grateful to Playwrights Canada Press for sending me this. I'm very excited to read this, especially since they're by Canadian writers, and hopefully I'll get to them sometime soon. Well, since we are on the topic of plays, I have Arthur Miller, The Crucible, and this is one of the classics that I probably should have read at school. I'm not sure, but I've heard of it, and one of the people who recently talked about this, I believe, was Sophie from Sophie Carlin's channel. And Sophie is usually the person that I go to for, you know, weird books and magical realism, and also some weird recommendations. So I kind of picked it up on a whim, and also this is a 100th anniversary edition, and it has new photos from production, which is pretty cool, and hopefully I will be able to read it sometime soon. Next one is also a collection of plays, and this is 4 major plays by Henrik Ibsen. I read Ibsen's, I think only 1 play back at university, and since I'm going to see Hedda Gabler next week, I wanted to read it before I go and see it. And this collection has A Doll's House, Ghosts, Hedda Gabler, and The Master Builder. I cannot believe that I have not really read anything by him since university days. It's so weird. I've been meaning to read more plays this year, so this is a great opportunity for me to catch up. And then I got some books from Book Outlet. If you remember, in December or even November, I mentioned that I wanted to partake in a readathon or read-along in January, organized by Winks and Ink and devoted to Sherlock Holmes. So January of 2017 was supposed to be a month when I only read Sherlock Holmes stories, either by Conan Doyle himself or by some other authors. Unfortunately, like I mentioned before, since something happened and I was kind of in a slump and I wasn't really reading that much, I did not participate in that. However, the idea of reading more books set in Sherlock Holmes times or related to Sherlock Holmes, or just in general set up in Victorian England, was so appealing for me that I wanted to buy more books that would be kind of falling into that category. So I went on Book Outlet and kind of browsed, and this is what I've got. The first one that I have here is Dust and Shadow, an account of the Ripper killings by Dr. John H. Watson, obviously by Lindsay Fay, and it's about Sherlock Holmes and the famous killer who's, you know, haunting, well, Jack the Ripper, who's haunting London. So yeah, I've never read this one, and I'm excited. The next book that I have is The Yard by Alex Gressian? Oh god, I'm probably butchering this. So this is another one which is set in Victorian London around Jack the Ripper, but it has nothing to do with Sherlock Holmes except for Scotland Yard, and apparently it's book number 1 in series, or maybe like a trilogy, I'm not very sure, but this book has been on my radar for a while. I was even looking through some pictures on my phone and I found this book. I took a picture of this book in a bookstore about like 4 years ago or so, so it's definitely overdue, and hopefully it will be a good one. I don't really know much about it. Apparently there is someone at Scotland Yard who starts investigating murders. Yeah. Who doesn't love Scotland Yard? I do like it, even though Sherlock Holmes always thought that they were a whole bunch of imbeciles, but yeah, Scotland Yard. Next I have Queen Victoria's Book of Spells, and this is actually more of a fantasy book. This is a collection of short stories set in Victorian England, and they're all written by quite well-known fantasy authors, among them Elizabeth Bear, Jeffrey Ford, Alan Kushner, Delia Sherman. Oh my god, there are just so many of them that I've read before, and I've had this book on my wish list at Book Outlet for a while. Wasn't sure what to make of it, but then I decided since I'm on a Victorian England streak, I might as well pick this one up. Next, I have The Gentleman by Forrest Leo, and this is actually by a contemporary writer. This is a book which is compared to Jeeves and Wooster, and it's also apparently set in the Victorian England. I don't really know much about it, except for there is a gentleman who finds himself in some sort of a pickle and tries to get himself out from it. This is the book that I originally got from the library, but never got around to reading it, and I was so embarrassed by the fact that I kept renewing it and then returning it and then picking it up again, that when I saw it on Book Outlet, I just decided to purchase this book because obviously I really want to read it, but I was not in the right mood for it at the time, so I decided to pick this one up. Besides, it was really cheap, and the original price of this book is 35 Canadian dollars, which is incredibly high for this thin book. It's ridiculous, really. But I'm very glad that I purchased my own copy. Hopefully this book will not disappoint me. I saw some mixed reviews on Goodreads. However, overall they were more or less positive. Plus, I think the idea of someone who's, in Victorian England, someone who's supposed to be kind of funny and it's also supposed to be suspenseful, which I like, both of that, and set in Victorian England, I'm sorry, I will just like it on principle, let's be honest. And yeah, hopefully I'll read it sometime soon because it's been on my list since October and maybe even September, which is ridiculous. Next, I have John le Carré's novel, and this is one of the novels from George Smiley series, The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. I picked up this book because, first of all, I read Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy and I loved it, and I watched the movie and I absolutely loved it. I think it was a great movie and very much underappreciated by many people. I also really enjoyed The Night Manager by John le Carré. It was one of the audiobooks that took me a while to listen to in 2016, but I did enjoy it. I have not watched the TV series based on that book. However, I discovered that BBC decided to produce this book as TV series, and just following this the success of The Night Manager. That's why I decided to pick this copy. It's not a very thick book. It's obviously has to do with George Smiley, and I think it's before. I think it's set before Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I'm not really sure, but yeah, Cold War, spies, Britain, yeah. And the last but definitely not least is this novel. It has nothing to do with Victorian England, but it sounds amazing. This is The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid, and I heard pretty good things about it. This is a YA sci-fi novel and it has to do with assassins, which is amazing. And I actually picked this book up from the library. Story of my life, never got to read it and then had to return it, so I decided to pick my own copy since it was available on Book Outlet. I know it's not a very smart move to buy books, which I'm not sure I will love, but it sounded pretty good and I was very selective this time, so yeah, hopefully this book will live up to my expectations. I don't really know much about it, but so far all reviews that I saw on Goodreads were pretty good. Well, this is it, guys. These are all the books that I got in 2 months. More so, I did not spend that much money. Most of them were purchased for gift cards, and also Book Outlet, as you know, has discounted prices, which is amazing. So all of these books did not break my budget. Yay! You wouldn't believe it. Like, I'm so happy about it. Seriously. So let me know down below if you read any of these books, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you very soon. Bye!